Will Reservations and Genie Plus be the big souvenirs from 2021? The trams and easier ways to get into the park just can't come fast enough. It was a week of wild and weird different events happening inside of Disneyland, and that's not slowing down as Disney doubles on the After Dark events. The Fantasyland Theater is transforming into something also different, and there's water back inside the lagoon. Kinda. It's your weekly update and time to discover everything new at Disneyland. Genie Plus showed up this week, and I don't know. It's just not something I'm really into talking about. I don't think it's a good idea, but I'm also not a ride crusher, and I also think that many of the fans ask for this. They want to get as much access as possible. I just think it's really just greed on both sides of the fence, both the corporation and both the fans. It kind of symbolizes everything that I think that is gross about Disneyland. And it's brand new. We don't really know the effects of it yet, and there's already people predicting it's the end of times, it's the best of times. It got off to a rough start. Anything with that much technology would. Let's just see where it goes. And if you really want a hardcore opinion about it, Defunctland, Kevin Perger, made the most absolute perfect video about fast passes, and everything in there I agree with. I just wish there would be one line. Everybody wait in one line. But let's talk about something I am passionate about. Disneyland vibes, and how there's this penny pinching that's killing the simplest of vibes. Trams are coming back, but currently this is the tram route that they want us to walk. I've refused to do it because I just don't enjoy it anymore. So I started doing this, walking wherever they park me over to the Pixar Pals garage, exiting across the bridge, walking in a combination of downtown Disney and through the parking lots, and I enjoy it. It's a better vibe. And for this better vibe, I am willing to pay 500 extra feet. No big deal, it's worth it. But because Disney wants to pinch pennies and not have the security post open between the Star Wars Trading Post and the ESPN Fun Zone, they want us to walk this path, which I find to be insulting because you can exit at the end of the night, but you can't enter, which means they just don't want to pay for a staff to check people in at this gate, which makes you walk back and forth extra steps. It's 1,000 more feet, nearly a third more of the journey. And they don't want us walking through here because they don't want guests walking through the parking lot because it's dangerous, because people have their faces in their phones. And I understand, but it's silly. It's goofy, and it's all because of saving money. If there were a budget to open up this gate, you would be able to do the most direct way in, and it's only 12 more steps in the tram path, but it's full of 12 times the vibes. So you ask me, what do I think about Genie Plus? What do I think about just being able to walk into the park? That's what I just want. I just want to be able to walk into the park and catch my vibes. Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Brickey here. It's that time again to walk around all of Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure to find you everything new that is updated and once again hit with Christmas magic. It's the Dapper Dance. Main Street has returned to its normal Christmassy vibe self during December after having Candlelight Processional return last week. Just a week ago, this massive stage and plant life was erected all around Main Street train station, as well as all the lighting rigs and sound systems that they need to put on such a show. As cool as it is that they do that, it's always nice to see it return back to the regular standard of the holiday season. But very cool that that transformation happens. Nice to see it back to its beautiful self. When you think about the genius of creating the berm that goes around Disneyland and putting the train station up over the top of Main Street, perfectly blocking out the view from anybody standing in the Esplanade or what used to be the parking lot, it is a genius design element to make people think, what's happening inside of there? I need to have that. Speaking of specialty events, this Thursday night, In-N-Out hosted their holiday party inside of Batuu, which is kind of an interesting thing because if you remember, Merriest Nights, the last one, December 9th date, sold out the quickest, which I did the math last night because I was there and there wasn't that many people at Merriest Nights. I think the people that were at In-N-Out were kind of also assumed to be a part of that Merriest Nights. So the reason why that one sold out so quickly is it was the smallest attended. If that's true, then that means that Merriest Nights was overall a very soft sell because that one sold out much faster than the other ones. But if it was 3,000 people less, that would be indicative that it wasn't the date, it was that the In-N-Out folks were having their party back there. Everything you're seeing right now is a Make-A-Wish build-out that happened for a Tuesday event that happened inside of Batu. It was a fundraiser for Make-A-Wish, so they really brought in a lot of different gear to convert this space over to doing an event where, they throw a really nice party. They get a lot of people with the means in there. They make them feel good and then hope they'll open up those checkbooks and donate to a very worthy cause. So very interesting this week to see the park do double duty on hosting 2 different events, Merriest Nights in 6 Lands, Critter Country being a neutral zone, and then Galaxy's Edge being a party spot. With Galaxy's Edge being so separated from the rest of the park, it's actually a brilliant idea because it can hold its own event. But if you're an individual ticket holder on Tuesday or Thursday and you have to leave the park at 7 o'clock for Merriest Nights and Galaxy's Edge shut down at 4 o'clock, that to me is a real problem for people that aren't in the news loop, that don't know what's going on, that thought that they would show up and got less than 8 hours of a full park to rip. Speaking of getting shortchanged, this was the holiday parade that folks got at 3 o'clock on Thursday. I think it was due to the weather, and all these folks lined up to get a parade, and this is what they got. I saw a little bit of confusion and disappointment with only Santa and the Omnimover rolling by. Speaking of things coming to Main Street, the Main Street Electrical Parade will return in time to celebrate its 50th anniversary. Still no date on that, but expect it early sometime in 2022. Also in the big data dump that happened this week to try to get people talking about positive things happening and get them away from talking about Genie Plus, Disneyland Forever was announced that it will be returning as the spring premiere fireworks show. Fantasmic is also on the schedule to return. World of Color will be coming back after its refurbishment. And then they also dropped a lot of dates for after-hour events. Big news drop at the same time of Genie Plus getting out of the gate. That's no accident. That's, hey, look at the shiny thing while we get this other thing all figured out. And don't take that as I'm not excited about all of these things happening. I absolutely am. I love Fantasmic. I love Disneyland Forever. Best fireworks show, in my opinion. But I just want to break down to you why all of these things were dropped without specific dates other than those after-hour events, because it's changing the narrative. And I get that and I understand it and just wanted to explain it to you. Over at the Fantasyland Theater, we're seeing a transformation that's going to take place where it seems like instead of bringing back a dedicated show for the Fantasyland Theater, it's going to be a mixed-use space for various entertainment offerings, such as Celebrate Gospel that will be returning with live choir performances. Intel of the Lion King will move from Disney's California Adventure to the Fantasyland Theater. I'm also assuming that this will be able to make this space better use for the after-hour events, such as 80s Night when they did Videopolis on this stage. So if there can't be a show here all the time, using it for that is a clever way of making a little bit of life happen in this space. If we remember this summer, we had the premiere for the Jungle Cruise take place over here. Soon we'll have Toontown being worked on the other side of that berm. Maybe that's going to be a lot of noise that would conflict with having an entertainment space. But this area through here, a quiet spot currently of the park, looks like it's going to be going through some transformations, as it's probably, other than Tomorrowland, the one part of the park that's just not completely dialed in yet. When you think of New Orleans Square, Main Street USA, Galaxy's Edge, this area needs a little work, and I'm here for it. It's a Small World return for its victorious Christmas debut after a lot of technical difficulties. Let me tell you, it is back. It is beautiful. It felt like there was extra vibes there. You can see me ride through it in this video that I put up earlier this week, but it is so fun to see this back, and man, they really put a ton of work into meeting this deadline after having a mishap happen on refilling the canal with water. So big shout out to the gang that made this happen and come together. I know that they were working around the clock because I was one of them all along. But 20 different teams working all around the clock to help save Christmas. Man, if Disney would have documented that, it could have been such an amazing Christmas story. Because literally, what is the plot of every movie? Saving Christmas. What were they doing? Saving Christmas. Oh man, I wish I could have shot it. Not much to check in with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It kind of seems like from what we can see, the project has gone stagnant. But I did want to show you that I saw this over in Toontown. Just Mickey hanging out, giving everybody virtual high fives. Right back at you, big guy. Right back at you. Let's move over to some construction. The big project that we have is World of Color. But before we get into that, you can see that the Festivals of Holiday stage is all illuminated. And I love kind of showing people the entertainment components of how things work. This little tent that you see over here is the front of house where they can mix the sound and put together the show that you see. So I always enjoy kind of looking at things in the park and breaking down all the infrastructure that makes them work. So World of Color has been the big project that we have been following on this series every week when I can make it over to DCA. And the water is back in the lagoon, but is it? I mean, clearly we can both see that there's water in the lagoon, but the way that the water is in there has me baffled and very curious. Let's backtrack a little bit and think about how great it's been following this project and why I love doing this video series, because we now know exactly what lies beneath the water. We know the contours of the land. So when things develop, we'll have a better idea of, oh, that's the shallow spot or that's the deeper part. So that's going to give us a lot of context moving forward. So glad to capture all of this footage to give us a better understanding of where the park's headed. But now let's look at this water that's in the lagoon. Because if you look over on the shoreline, you can see that it's not the actual resting height of water. You can see that the water damage is a bit higher than where this water's sitting. Maybe give or take a foot lower, maybe 16 inches lower than what it should be. This stage is out inside of the lagoon that has been replenished with water, but that is not a permanent structure whatsoever. If you recall from weeks past, we saw them put in the scaffolding that's going to hold up this stage. There you go. And if you look at that scaffolding, it's just sitting on blocks of wood to keep it level around all the contours of this man-made lagoon. You can see this is nothing permanent. It is literally a stage for the workers to get around these various different podiums where I believe the projection equipment will live. So why fill up the lagoon around a temporary structure that you know eventually you're going to have to pull back out? The only thing that I could come up with is as they're putting these projectors in there, they're going to need to be able to test these projectors to make sure that they're all working accordingly, that they're efficiently hitting the proper spots, which to test World of Color, you're going to need some water in the lagoon. So did they do a partial refuel, just enough to be able to use the pumps, to use these projectors? Because just a few weeks ago, this is an exact shot for shot, this is what it looked like. And now they have got water in there, but if we look at the old resting water line, it is definitely a lower amount of water than where the water had sit. And I don't think that they're going to be lowering or raising the stage that houses the show. So this is definitely fascinating. How do you get that scaffolding back out once you have finished your projector project? Do they lower the water again, which seems very not environmental friendly? This is the staging area where they can take a bobcat, put stuff over the railing, drive it out or cart it out to wherever they need their materials to work on these projector bases. I'm going to be so fascinated to try to figure out how do you get the scaffolding out. I mean, I guess scuba diving guys, but that sounds insanely expensive. Taking the water out seems insanely irresponsible. Did you step in it?
Yeah, it's on my shoe. Man, I told Mickey, you gotta pick up after Pluto if you're out here walking them. It's all over the place. Yep, that's what I thought it was.
Sniff it.
No way, no way. Next time I see Mickey, he's gonna get a piece of my mind.
Very interesting project. And I guess, yeah, you have to have water to test something like this. But then how do you get back out of the test process? This is why I love this series and watching the Sim City aspect of the park. Looking at this and trying to do the mental math of creatively what was happening here and what the problem solving was, this is my favorite ride. That's my least favorite ride. One of the things I wanted to do with Update, but it's been so busy with all the Christmas coverage, is when I saw this little cart on Thursday hanging out under the Hyperion Bridge, it reminded me of last year. One of the things I want to do on this series is time travel back a year and date of what the park looked like the year before, or several years as we get going along. But last year, all around the DCA hub, they had Christmas merchandise just sitting around in racks. This restaurant that never got off the ground was going away. The Star Wars Trading Post was taking over the spot of Wonderground Gallery before it would move over to the old rainforest. And all of the dining had been taken out of the park, which really, in pandemic times, took a lot of the life out of the park. What a distance we have traveled from Ballast Point selling t-shirts to just get some revenue coming in the door. The hotels were closed. Obviously, cast members only could pass through there into the Grand Californian. You could buy a popcorn bucket, but you couldn't buy the popcorn that goes in the bucket. Same with the sippers. Oh, you can get the sipper, but don't imagine you're going to get anything to sip on. And that was the best ride, still is. The bench was the only place where you could sit your butt and catch those Disneyland vibes. That part wasn't quite so horrible, but look at this. Think about where it's at today. We were begging just to get into Hollywood Studios. Now nobody goes to Hollywood Studios. And Off the Page was the biggest thing that you could get into. Look at this. One couple comes out, the cast member lets one couple come in, and everybody moves up 6 feet more in the process. I hope you enjoyed that little rewind. I want to start doing those on weeks when it's not crazy busy, because I want to document everything moving forward and backward. And I think it gives you a big sense of gratitude and makes some of the things we're complaining about sound pretty silly when you look at how much we've got now. Hey friends, from inside of Avengers Campus, where the Jeep has somehow mysteriously returned, thank you so much for taking this lap with me. This will be the last update for a little bit. I'm going to go to upstate New York, see my family, and I'm even going to New York City for a little classic New York City Christmas. Maybe I'll get one of these done before the end of the year, but this time of the year, I don't like to put any pressure on myself. I just like to have a good time and celebrate the holidays. I hope you've enjoyed this series of walking around the park, but don't worry. Even though Update might go away for a few weeks, I have some vlogs that I've shot that are inside the can that I'll be releasing over the while because I, one, mentally can't leave Disneyland, and two, I mentally can't leave you because I'm so blessed to do this and I enjoy it so much and I appreciate you being here. And if you are here, if you made it this far, I think put a little subscription underneath the old Christmas tree for the Brickman. I'd appreciate it. Friends, from the edge of Avengers Campus, where I jumped over that tree, some people know that's a deep cut. Thank you so much for going to this week's update. I hope you had fun doing a lap around both parks, seeing everything new that's happened. What is going on with World of Color and that water inside the lagoon? Like, what? I can't, like, that's insanity. There has to be a cheaper way to remove that than scuba guys with, taking the platforms out. I don't get it. It's not for me to understand. It's for me to document. Friends, thank you so much for going on this journey with me. And thank you so much to my friends over at club1313.com for supporting this content, for being a big part of my Disneyland dreams coming true this year in 2021. So much better than 20. Can't wait to see what the Double Deuce has in store.